What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I got to jam through this. It's Monday mail day. I hit the thumb up on the questions I will be answering. Got a ton of stuff to do. So let's get right into it, and let me answer some of these questions. Again, thumb ups on the questions that I'll be answering. First question is from Cedric Trailer. Do you think Frampton should defend title against Rigo next or move up to face Santa Cruz? Your thoughts? By the way, Frampton looked pretty sharp against Quigg. Seen him do a little shoulder roll in the fight. You could tell he'd been watching Floyd. I had it Frampton 8-4 rounds. He was just the busier fighter during the first half. Now, I agree. I don't think there was any controversy. Also, Quigg got his jaw broke by Frampton. Some people didn't know. I'll try to make a separate video about that. But yeah, he got hit with a nasty uppercut, which I seen he had a very sneaky uppercut. I like that from Frampton. And he ended up breaking Scott Quigg's jaw early, like in the fourth round. He fractured it. So Frampton, I thought he looked good. I don't think there's any controversy. Quigg showed some life later on, but I hate when fighters do that. Too little, too late. Now, I mean, my opinion on what should happen, it doesn't really matter. What do I think will happen? I think Frampton will push for a Leo Santa Cruz fight. Santa Cruz is already on the Heyman side. He has a pact with Heyman, so it's an easier fight to make than Heyman working with Rock Nation and Rigondeaux, who's now with Rock Nation. So I would say likelihood is that. Plus, I think Frampton has been having some trouble making the super bantam. So I think he wants to just move up to featherweight anyway. I think it's just becoming too hard for him to make that. He had one big last money fight with Quigg, and I think now he's time. He feels it's time for his body to move up. So that's what I think would happen to Leo Santa Cruz, or either that or a lesser name. But I think out of Rigondeaux and Santa Cruz, I think it's more likely that he would fight Santa Cruz than Rigondeaux next, my opinion. Next question is from Rob Lee 73. Max Kellerman interviewed Terrence Crawford after the Lundy fight. He asked, who do you want next? TC responds, it's my manager's decision. So, Ego, considering bigger names, Victor Postal, Adrian Broner, Matisse, Provodnikov, Benavidez, perfect opportunity to call out any of these top fighters. What are your thoughts on Terrence Crawford not doing so? Now, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Terrence Crawford, he knows he's one of the elite at 140. He knows he's one of the biggest names. But he's not on a level of stardom like Miguel Cotto, Juan Manuel Marquez, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Canelo. He's not like that type of A-side name yet. Not saying he doesn't have the skills to be that, but I'm just saying in terms of the whole persona and package, he's not quite there yet. So even if he were to call out those people, my point being, unless you're like a Pacquiao, a Canelo, or a Mayweather, A-side type, Miguel Cotto, there's no one that's really going to refuse to fight with those people, most likely, because it'll be the biggest payday of their life. Terrence Crawford is still, at this point, in my opinion, he's still kind of a high-risk, lower reward. It's a high risk because he's so skilled. He could switch to southpaw, and he's very talented. But he still doesn't generate the type of money, like, meaning if you fight Crawford, you're just getting guaranteed $4 million or anything like that. So unless you're like a Marquez type where like your call outs will be heard, like Marquez called out Mayweather and got the Mayweather fight, I really don't. It is what it is. A lot of fighters do that and say that, you know what I mean, they don't do call outs anymore. So to each his own. I think Crawford's just kind of for the most part, quiet unless someone riles him up like Derry Jean or Hank Lundy. So him not calling out those people is not a big deal because, again, he's not an ace side. So if he were to call, let's say he called out Adrian Broner, there's a Cold War. So can he really do anything to land the Broner fight and make Bob Arum work with Al Heyman, etc.? If he calls out guys like Matisse and Provodnikov already turned down the fight. Benavidez, I don't know what his deal is, but it's like even if he calls those people out, there's no guarantee with his level of star power that those fights will be made anyway. Or even if he calls them out, we don't know if those fighters want to fight him. So I just don't see him not doing a call out being a big deal. Next question is from Roberto Espinoza Torres. Thoughts on Olympics allowing pro boxers to compete with amateurs this summer? Which fighters would you like to see in Rio? Now, I read it, but I haven't given it much thought because I really truthfully don't see many pros taking that. If you're a pro, you can start earning pro level purses and actually getting paid for fighting. So if you're a professional fighter, why would you want to possibly put a blemish or embarrass your career to be fighting with somebody and you're not even getting paid for it? So I mean, it's cool that they did it, but I really don't see many big names doing this because, like I said, if I'm Adrian Broner and I can make a cool 1.4 million to face Ashley Theophane. I'm not fighting in no amateurs against some young, hungry, up and coming kid who's fighting 100 different amateur fights. And like, what if that kid makes me look vulnerable or weak or something like that? It's just, there's nothing really in it for a big name fighter to me. What do you, for bragging rights? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you going to do it for? The other thing is, I looked at the angle of, it seems a little bit unfair, because if someone, depending on what level of pro you are, you have pro level experience, whereas I know they try to change the amateur system to make it mirror the pro system a little bit more, but it's still kind of unfair. Like, you're going to see a guy like John Molina or whoever, Broner, who had an amateur pedigree and also a pro pedigree, fighting somebody who only has an amateur pedigree. I just really don't see the hybrid working too well, where you'll have big names. Maybe if you're a lower caliber fighter and people don't really know you, you might entertain it, but I haven't really thought about who I want to see, because I don't really see many people doing it, and that's my honest opinion. Next question, Daniel Lopez. Hey, Ego, what are your thoughts on the heavyweight match between Luis Ortiz versus Tony Thompson? You think Ortiz is a major threat to every fighter in the middleweight division? I think you meant heavyweight division, but yeah, Ortiz, he's definitely he's the high risk, low reward person in the heavyweight division, for as far as I'm concerned. He has an uncomfortable style. Like, if I was a heavyweight, I wouldn't want to fight him over, you know what I mean? Because at least if you fight Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, you'll probably get a nice paycheck. Luis Ortiz doesn't speak English. I don't think he really has the fan base. Like, he has a cult fan base or something, but he doesn't have like the notoriety of some of the other heavyweights, like a Klitschko or whatever. So your purse might not be that crazy, and you have to deal with his skill set. He showed some movement in the Brian Jennings fight. His power is freakish. It's just not a good look. So I'm not saying people should avoid him or duck him, but he's still a high risk, low reward. I definitely think he's a boogeyman in the division. My thoughts, I got a dude covering, my dude Bakari, shout out to him. He'll be out there covering the Saddam Ali fight with Jesse Vargas, and then this is on the card, Luis Ortiz, Tony Thompson. I think it's a solid match. Tony Thompson has been an upset specialist, upset guys like David Price twice. He's been in there with the experience of fighting a guy like Vladimir Klitschko. Don't see him beating Ortiz at this point. I think he's just older. I think he's going to get stopped, in my personal opinion. Next question, Frederick Cotton. More Troy King, and is Maidana done boxing? Troy King coming. Definitely got stuff with him always. I just talked to him yesterday. Maidana, could be. He's been gone for a while, so it's going to be, the longer he stays out with his style, the harder it's going to be to come back, because you have to have a level of discipline in boxing in general. So if you've been gone for, he hasn't fought, Mayweather's fought twice since Maidana's second fight. You know what I mean? And Maidana hasn't fought at all. Mayweather went in there with Pacquiao, record-breaking numbers with that fight, and he fought Berto. And Mayweather was a guy who, not too many years ago, was only fighting one time a year. And Mayweather also has the skill set and the technical prowess of a fighter who has more longevity in the sport. Maidana is a kind of guy where, like, he's just tough, and he worked on his jab and worked on some of the basics, but he's kind of a guts and glory type of fighter. So the shelf life for those types of fighters typically are shorter, especially if you're out, because we all know he gained weight and ballooned up and stuff like that. That's not good, because, you know what I mean, you got that Mayweather payday and you gain weight, and like Khan hit you with a vicious body shot. If you are in shitty shape for a year and then you have to kill yourself to make weight and chop weight and stuff like that, and because you ballooned up, you might not get back up from that body shot from Khan. You know what I mean? And it's just because you didn't sacrifice in your offseason, and that's where it will catch up to you. You've seen Brandon Rios even versus Timothy Bradley. Bradley's not known as a elite level puncher. He's an elite fighter, but he's not known as this murderous Triple G type of puncher, Tyson type of power. And he stopped Brandon Rios. And I think that's a testament to his game plan with Teddy Atlas. I'm not taking away credit from them, but also he had the right game plan given the fact that Brandon Rios, who he kind of treated, he didn't treat his career like a boxer, in my opinion, from what I heard. He even said he weighed almost 200 pounds or something like that. So he had more of a couch potato type of off season, and that's not good. So same thing with Maidana. I love Maidana. I love Chino. So hopefully he does come back correct. I just don't see it. And the longer he waits, the harder it's going to be. to bounce back. Next question is from Fernandez Harris. Ego, educate me. Can the Terrence Crawford Adrian Broner fight happen? Who would you favor in the fight? I think that would be an awesome bout. I posted this on my Instagram the other day. Awesome fight, great fight. I think it would actually be more competitive than some people think. We look at Terrence Crawford, his toughest fights, in my opinion, have come at the hands of African American fighters, whether it was only a round or two that they did good or whatever. I think that competitive streak, that slickness and stuff, athleticism, makes for competitive fights with Terrence Crawford, with his style. You've seen Hank Lundy come out and won the first round because he was just wild and, athletic and kind of hard to gauge and read. You look at his fight with Gamboa, who has kind of an athletic, slick style. He's Cuban, but he has that rhythmic, slick type of style. You look at Deary Jean, it wasn't super competitive, but you could tell they were both going at it. So Broner's big, and he has elite level experience fighting Maidana, where he lost to Sean Porter Maidana. The fact that he even knocked Sean Porter down makes it an interesting fight, because if you can knock down a guy who was fighting at 165 as an amateur, who had never been knocked down as a pro, then I think he could possibly hurt Terrence Crawford. I would favor Terrence Crawford based on his ability to adjust, switch, and a prominent jab, but I think it'd be a tougher fight than some people think Broner will get bodied. I see it being competitive as long as it lasts, to be honest. I think that would be a very highly competitive fight, very fun to watch, but I would favor Terrence Crawford based on he showed me more and he's been more consistent. Broner, he's had some lapses. But what I see from Broner, his weakness, Broner struggles more if you pressure him. And I've seen Terrence Crawford stalk a bit, but he doesn't stalk in the same manner as like a Maidana. You know what I mean? He's not a swarmer the same way like Sean Porter. You know what I mean? And Sean Porter's naturally been fighting at bigger weights and stuff like that. So I think it'd be a good fight, competitive fight. Favor Terrence Crawford. Can it happen? Possibly. I really think Mayweather-Pacquiao, if that happened after 5 years and drug testing, and I'm not doing the drug test, and Bob Arum and Floyd hating each other and media jumping in, all that, if that happened, anything can truly happen. It's just a matter of setting pride aside, stop the pissing contest, and end the Cold War and work together and make this money. But I think, like I said, if Mayweather-Pacquiao happened, this could happen. Will it happen? Will Top Rank want to put Terrence Crawford in there with a Broner? Will Heyman want to put Broner in there with Crawford? Who knows? But I think it's possible. I just don't see it really happening. But that's just my opinion. Next question, Romello Brown. How would Triple G career would fare if he signed with Al Heyman? Do you think Al would promote him like how he do his other top level fighters? Yeah, I mean, obviously Triple G, he's clean cut, entertaining style. I think Al Heyman would promote him great based on that. I mean, he's racking up victories and stuff like that. It'd be foolish not to promote him. Whether you're with K2, Heyman, De La Hoya, if anybody had Triple G, they would be promoting him. I mean, he's been knocking people out, and 22 consecutive is easy to market. 22 consecutive knockouts or whatever it is. It's just a matter of the true boxing fans know this and realize people want to see Triple G in there with great fighters. Al Heyman has an immense stable, including middleweights that he either works with, like Andy Lee, or he has under his stable, like Peter Quill and Danny Jacobs. So I think Triple G would have actually probably more options. Me personally, if it can't, I understand, oh, it's a mandatory. That's what people are going to say. Oh, he's mandatory. Dominic Wade's a mandatory ego. I realize that. But me personally, if I had a chance, I would much rather see Peter Quillen, even though he got stopped in one round by Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs did that. Peter Quillen got stopped by Danny Jacobs, not Triple G. Even though I would favor Triple G to beat Peter Quillen, I would still rather see that than Dominic Wade. Reason being, I've seen more of Peter Quillen as a pro. I know he's big as hell for middleweight, and I know he can crack. Dominic Wade, we haven't really seen him at that level. Sam Solomon, a crafty 41-year-old. You know what I mean? At least win, lose, or draw. If you think, whatever you think about Peter Quillen, we know he's fought Hassan Indam and knocked him down more times than David Lemieux did. And he did it earlier than David Lemieux. He's been in there with Winky Wright. Even though Winky Wright was coming off a hiatus, it was still Winky Wright. He's been in there with Andy Lee. He's been in there with Gabe Rosado. Different things like that. And now he just fought Danny Jacobs. So I would rather see a Danny Jacobs or Peter Quillen fight Triple G next than Dominic Wade. So yeah, I think Al Heyman, if Triple G was on the Heyman side, it could work because Heyman has a deep stable. Next question, Eric Shipman. Hey, Ego, if Errol Spence stops Chris Algieri early, how much would it affect his stock at welterweight? I'm not sure who his stock is, if you're referring to Errol Spence or Chris Algieri's stock. I mean, obviously, Chris Algieri's not really in a place where he wants to take a loss, so I'm just going to assume you're talking about Errol Spence's stock, and it'll definitely rise. The reason being is Chris Algieri, he's crafty, he's tall, he's in great shape, he's a nutritionist, and he's educated. So he knows about sports medicine, sports science, and things like that. So the point, the reason I'm saying that, what is this education? What does this degree have to do with this, Ego? The reason being is he's in shape, and he you know what I'm saying, he knows how to navigate and stay safe. He comes from combat fighting, whether it was kickboxing, boxing, and he's been in there with punchers like Ruslan Provodnikov, got hurt, got right back up, and finished the fight and won the fight via split decision. He fought against Pacquiao, a legend, right? Got knocked down 6 times, got back up each time, finished the fight. He's been in there with Amir Khan. Amir Khan was, even though it was a competitive fight, Amir Khan was landing some pretty good shots on him, things like that. Amir Khan didn't stop him. So the fact that none of the Emmanuel Taylor, none of these guys stopped him, if Errol Spence does it, and he does it early, yeah, his stock goes up. And it'll also put him in the IBF slot to be a mandatory for Kell Brook. So that's a great look if he does look good in that fight. Next question from the unknown. I'm a big Errol Spence fan, but do you think he could beat Kell Brook, as I heard he's Brook's next IBF mandatory? Now, I just talked about that. I definitely do. If it, like, again, I have to see what he looks like versus Chris Algieri, but yeah, it's not out of the question. We have to remember, I've watched boxing for all my life. So I've seen a lot of these guys when they weren't even necessarily known names. Kell Brook is a hell of a fighter. I think he's one of the best welterweights. I think he's very hard to beat, but I don't think it's out of the question. Reason being because not too many fights ago, he was in competitive fights with, what's the dude that knocked out Ricky Hatton when he came back out of retirement? Oh, man. He fought Paulie Malignaggi. Sinchenko. He got hurt in that fight. I don't know if you guys remember. He was hurt in that fight. And then he ended up stopping Sinchenko. But he got hurt by Sinchenko. He had a very tough fight with Carson Jones in the first fight. And then he came back and did what was... He had a better performance and looked way better in the rematch. But that's not too far ago. You know what I mean? His fight with Sean Porter was a difficult fight. I had him winning, but it wasn't like it was just easy work. It wasn't like Mayweather Canelo where he just shitted on Sean Porter, and I thought he was controlling Sean Porter with the jab, and he was running him into some stuff. But it wasn't just like an easy work type of fight. He got cut in the fight. So we still don't know. We don't know a lot about Errol Spence Jr. at the pro level, but then there's stuff we don't know about Kell Brook too. Like I said, a couple of fights ago, he was in tough fights. He was in deep. So definitely. And then the other thing you had to look at, it's not necessarily beneficial. Look at Canelo, for example. Canelo had a career, in my opinion. I did videos and people said I hated Canelo for it. Early on my channel, I was doing videos like, what's up, when's Canelo going to step up type of attitude, which I would do to any fighter, no matter who you are, right? I thought he was being spoon-fed by Golden Boy. They were saying he's the future of boxing. I'm like, man, can we see it? Instead of fighting 41-year-old Carlos Baldomir and an older Shane Mosley who hasn't won in quite some time, things of that nature. But notice with Canelo, ever since he fought Austin Trout, that was an undefeated southpaw. A lot of people thought Trout could beat him. Whether you thought Trout won or Canelo won, whatever. But ever since that point, his resume and level of competition has stepped up. He fought Floyd Mayweather next. Then he lost, so he fought Angulo, who was also off a loss, but a big puncher in the division. Then he fought Lara, who's obviously a skilled Cuban southpaw, right? Whether you thought he won or lost, I'm just talking about. James Kirkland, a big puncher off of the Glenn Tapia win. Then he fought Miguel Cotto. Now he's fighting Amir Khan. I think that's kind of a mismatch, but it's still a name. So you look at Canelo's resume, and it's at least been in the same realm. But that's not what's happened with Kell Brook. With Kell Brook, in my opinion, he was fighting the you know what I mean, like the guys who weren't world beat, Sinchenkos and Carson Jones. Then he stepped up all the way up to a Sean Porter level fighter. Like, okay, that's a good fighter. Sean Porter beat Devin Alexander, made Paulie Malignaggi quit or stopped him real quick, right? Sean Porter had some momentum. He was the IBF champion, so he stepped up in class. And then after the Sean Porter fight, it's just been downhill for Kell Brook's career. Like he's fighting guys with, like, that aren't at the level. Jojo Dan, okay, you got stabbed, so you fought Jojo Dan. He was your mandatory. Then you fight, I don't even remember, Frankie Gavin or whoever. Now you're fighting Kevin Bezier because he's your mandatory because you got hurt and the Diego Chavez fight got scrapped. You know what I mean? Those fights don't tell me nothing. So, yeah, I think Errol Spence Brook is a great fight, but this is definitely winnable for either, in my opinion. Next question, Benjamin Franklin. Ego, how come they say Rigo is boring when Frampton and Quigg does shadow boxing first 6 rounds? Wow. And how come none of this champions doesn't want to fight this boring fighter? If someone is boring, he doesn't throw a lot of punches, so he is easy to get beat. I don't get it. I mean, that whole thing is ridiculous. When it's usually a cop-out. When people start, oh, Ward doesn't sell out his mom's basement and all this. Rigondeaux, he's just so boring. I don't even take NyQuil. I take Rigondeaux fights, and it puts me right to sleep. All that garbage, that's whack. That's weak. Because if it's all that, then Leo Santa Cruz, Frampton, Quigg, they should just sign the contract, fight Rigondeaux, beat his boring ass, and then nobody has to worry about it. Okay, if he's already having a hard time getting fights winning, imagine if he loses. He's really going to have trouble getting fights. So just do the world a service, rid the world of boring Rigondeaux by going in there and destroying him, knocking him out, and ding dong, the witch is dead, so to speak. But that's not what they're willing to do because it's a front. It's a scapegoat. You don't want to fight the man because you realize that Rigondeaux will probably get in that ass and he's very skilled. So they have to refrain to politics and outside. Oh, he's boring. Oh, he's getting old. Like, who cares, man? They do the same thing with Floyd. They can't beat the man in the ring. So what do they say? Oh, Floyd, he's a woman beater. I don't like him trash talking. But Conor McGregor's trash talking. And you love it. So stop it. Rigondeaux is boring. Beat his boring ass. Period. So I don't know. And the Frampton, the Frampton Quigg, the first 5 rounds were very lackluster. No one was making that kind of commitment to pull forward. There's a lot online. So you didn't get to see the best of them early. But it is what it is. Rigondeaux's a problem, and that's why people use all that extra stuff. Next question, Charles Jackson. What's poppin', Ego? Terrence Crawford is a bad motherfucker. Some of the YTBC wants Crawford to move up in weight, but these are the same people that would tell you Triple G doesn't need to move up in weight. He trying to clean out the division, the weight class, and become undisputed champion. I see hate is real for skillful black fighters. Do you think that Crawford should move up in weight after 3 fights at 140? I mean, see, this is the thing. When it comes to a lot of black fighters that are skilled, you get the, oh, he's boring and different things like that. And I don't give a fuck who's mad. I'm gonna say what I feel. And this is the thing. When you get it, I'm not just saying black fighters are only skilled fighters. A lot of you guys use the race card for dumb shit. Oh, you're racist. You said Khan will lose to Canelo. How does that make somebody racist? Because I think someone's going to lose. I didn't say one thing about his religion. I didn't say one thing about him as a person. That's different. But when, like with you, what you're saying, the hate is real for skillful black fighters, you could look at examples of it where a black fighter might be held to a certain held to a certain standard that they clearly don't hold another fighter to. So, bottom line is this: they almost, like the detractors, they almost have to give you backhanded compliments, and that's what they're giving Terrence Crawford. They know he is such a good fighter, an elite level skilled fighter, that he has to do more in order to prove it. Even though he just recently moved up to fight at 140, he has 3 fights at 140, all 3 by stoppages. And 2 of the guys had only been stopped once. Thomas Delorme got stopped by Abregu. See how easy this is for me? Hank Lundy got stopped by John Molina, but both guys had some experience with different people, only been stopped once. Terrence Crawford was the other person to stop him. Derry Jean never been stopped. He stopped all 3 of them at 140. That's why they want him to move up, right? Oh, because he's so skilled, they know he's hard to beat at 140. So, he has to. That's like why Mayweather has to move up to fight a middleweight in Triple G, because you know it's going to be hard to beat him at 147, which is closer to what he should be fighting at. You know what I mean? In terms of his frame and size, he gets by based on skill. That's why he's able to fight bigger guys. So same thing with Crawford. It's a backhanded compliment that they give him. He's bad. 3 fights in the new division, and he got all stoppages. That's why they want to see him move up. Funny thing about it is this: he did want to move up, for the Pacquiao payday, and Pacquiao picked a guy who hits less hard than Crawford and Timothy Bradley, and a guy that a lot of people think Pacquiao already has 2 wins over. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. I mean, he wanted to move up, but I don't think he should move up if he's not getting a major fight like Pacquiao. Like, well, and you know what I mean? Some people, oh, why does he fight Keith Thurman on dumps? That's Heyman, and we already know how the Cold War is. But if he can get a fight with Pacquiao, move up, because that's an opportunity. And if you beat Pacquiao, you the man. But I wouldn't move. There's no reason to rush his career. Just like Andre Ward. He already cleaned out the super middleweight. He needs to move up because they know there's killers at 175, Adonis Stevenson and Kovalev, and they want more of a challenge. That's why you don't see people saying Ruslan Provodnikov needs to move up and stay at 147. He's moved up before versus Timothy Bradley, and he also lost, so he moved back down. But you don't see that because they know him at 147, skill-wise, it would probably be he'd be in harder fights. He doesn't have the skill. That's why you want to see Crawford move out of the division where he's only 3 fights into, is because you know he's such a skilled fighter. It's going to be hard to test him. You know what I mean? You can say the same for Golovkin, actually. Golovkin, people want to see him tested, so they want him to move out of 160. So, I mean, when you're skilled, that's what happens. Next question, Buck in 5. Should Sean Porter take a fight while Keith Thurman is healing up? If so, what do you think he should face? No, I mean, from what it sounds like, Keith Thurman's injury is not too severe, so he should heal pretty soon. So I don't think he should take a fight, because if the fight can happen, like if they later do more hospital tests or something and reveal that Thurman won't be ready by the summer or something like that, then he should absolutely take another fight. But from what I heard, Thurman, he's like 4 to 6 weeks of healing, and he'll be good and ready to go. So I think they're picking a different venue, trying to relocate the date. So I don't think he should jump the gun. But if it's going to stagnate his career, i.e. Amir Khan, when he was passing up Devin Alexander opportunities, hoping and praying Mayweather picked him, if it's a situation like that, I would never advise a fighter to stall out their career. You got to get active and stuff. But I don't think he should quite jump the gun if he has a pretty good inclination from his team, his dad, Al Heyman, that the fight will commence like it's supposed to. And it sounds like it's supposed to. So you don't want to see him step in there with Berto or something, Porter versus Berto or something, and then Berto looks decent or good or knocks him down and stuff. Now the Porter fight versus Thurman is ruined or tainted. You know what I mean? Because last time we seen Porter, he looked really good versus Broner for 11 rounds. So you don't want to jeopardize that by anything else. Porter Thurman is a fight we want to see. If it's going to happen soon, then I would just wait. But if his team is telling him it's not going to happen for another 8 months or something, then that's when I would take another fight. And Berto Flores says, "Yo, Ego, can you explain a purse bid to me? Thanks." Now, let me try to explain this real quick. Basically, 2 camps, like let's say Alexander Povetkin and Deontay Wilder. The fight there, that's the mandatory WBC champion is Wilder, and then the WC mandatory is Povetkin. So they have, as the 2 camps, they have a opportunity to negotiate and make that fight on their own, right? Like make the fight, make it happen. The 2 camps and come to terms and agreement. If they cannot do it, then it's set up in a purse bid where the purse is generated by like an auction style. So in this case, like Povetkin Wilder, there's a Russian promoter who bid a little bit over $7 million to secure the rights for that particular fight. So based on the rules, it's that purse is split. The champion gets a certain percentage, like 70-30. So the champion gets 70, and then the other person gets 30 or whatever the situation is. And then there's another 10% of the purse that is set aside for the winner. So basically a purse bid is when the camps can't come to terms on their own, then it's set up like an auction style to make the fight. So it's better, unless it's a good fight where someone's going to pay a high amount for it. It's usually better if the 2 terms can the 2 camps can come to terms on their own. You know what I mean? And then get the money and get it put up. Because like I think Lamont Peterson was supposed to fight Zab Judah a little while ago, and Zab Judah, if he took the fight, he would have only got like 100,000 because of the split. The purse bid wasn't it wasn't bid like $7 million like the Wilder Povetkin fight. It was the highest bid on it was like 250 or something, and then Peterson was a champion, I think, at the time, and he would have got the lion's share of it because he was the champion, and Zab Judah would have got like a very small percentage of it. So it could work. It just has to be a meaningful fight that is bid high, like where the bid is high. But that's kind of a quick rundown of it. And final question, which is a long question. Donin Elite. Damn. Hey, Ego, long read ahead. Thought I'd try my luck this week. I want to hear your opinion and anyone who wants to reply to me on why Canelo accepted the Khan fight. I can't see anything in it for Canelo. Been thinking this one through. Let's take a few after fight scenarios. Canelo destroys Khan in spectacular fashion, completely dominant, highlight real KO. So what? How does that benefit him or his legacy or help him in any way? And I don't really think it does. If anything, it may damage the public's opinion of him. I mean, I don't think boxing fans I don't think it'll damage it. I think it's just more or less neutral. If a lot of boxing fans are casual, they don't care. They don't care if Kirkland was on a 1.5-year layoff without Ann Wolfe. They care that Canelo knocked him the fuck out, and it was a highlight reel knockout. So I think unless you're a hardcore boxing fan and you're really analyzing and you're not even just analyzing. Some people are so casual, they don't even have the information to analyze because they don't know who Ann Wolfe is. They don't know who Kirkland is. They just know that Canelo bodied him. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it'll damage the public. I mean, taking the fight, if anything, would damage it. But if he knocks out Khan, it'd just be a highlight reel. It just kind of keeps him neutral. No one's going to be like, oh, he's for sure knocking out Golovkin because he knocked out Khan, a welterweight who moved up. Dragging up someone from a lower weight class who people generally consider to be easily hurt, glass chin, and who will have been inactive for the best part of a year by the time he faces Canelo. Canelo would pretty much come across as a bully, someone picking on a smaller guy and willing to fight someone his size, any middleweight contender. This doesn't help Canelo in any way. He'll get zero credit for this. Now, again, I agree. Like, it just kind of keeps him neutral. If he knocks out Canelo or Khan, it's kind of what most people are expecting. I haven't really seen many people break down the fight and say Khan will especially knock out Canelo. So Khan has one way to win. Canelo has more than one way to win. Canelo can win like a KO. He can win a TKO. He can win a decision. But I don't really see many people giving those same three options to Amir Khan. Like, oh, Amir Khan can TKO him. He could KO him or win a decision. Even winning a decision could be difficult. Number 2 of your point, Canelo struggles with Khan. If this happens, then all you will hear how Canelo has been exposed. He's a bum, will not get beaten by X, Y, and Z. This will bring back to the front page of his controversial wins already. Canelo's stock falls. Hell, this will most likely happen if Khan loses and performs slightly better than expected. True. 3, Canelo loses. He's fucked if this happens. Take the above, exposed bum, not elite, and explode it tenfold. He'll be considered overhyped bum, losing to a little guy he's expected to dominate. He may as well hang them up because the media, fans, and future opponents will crucify him. Yeah, if he loses to Khan, that's very bad for his career. Looking at the fight from this perspective, I can't see why Canelo would take the fight. Win, lose, or draw, this fight doesn't help him from a stylistic perspective. This fight does not aid Canelo in prepping for mandatory middleweight strap, and Golovkin either, so there has to be an ulterior reason. Maybe Canelo's been inactive and been trying to get back in the ring. Nope, large profile with Cotto in November. Maybe Canelo needs to get his name in the public eye. It's been a while since his last fight. Nope. I got to kind of skim through because this is kind of long. Maybe he needs to get a fight with a devastating KO, and he got that with Kirkland, you're basically saying. Maybe he needs the money, possibly, but I really doubt it. He's the new cash king. I really can't see any positive in the fight for Canelo and don't see what he has to gain in it in any way. Hope to hear your thoughts. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said, but the thing is this. The almighty dollar, money talks. That's what it boils down to. My personal opinion is Amir Khan has been ranting and raving, and anybody that would listen, any article, any interview about wanting a big fight. That's all. I mean, he's even passed up big fights talking about how he wants another big fight. I don't want a Kell Brook fight. Oh, he's being disrespectful. He has to earn it. All this stuff. So he's passed. That's a big fight in the UK, and the States would watch it. So that's a big fight. You passed up a big fight wanting a bigger fight with Mayweather, with the likes of Pacquiao, with the likes of Marquez, with Cotto. You know what I'm saying? You wanted one of the elite A-side people who have been in the sport 15, 20 years. You wanted those names only. You know what I'm saying? So he's been hollering about how he wants this big fight. De La Hoya is a former fighter who has a working relationship with Khan because Golden Boy has promoted and put on Khan fights in the past, 2014 when they were working together still. So he knows Khan. He's a promoter now and a businessman. And I think Oscar De La Hoya seen an opportunity with a guy who has been inactive, who is struggling to get the big fight for whatever reason. Some people say Pacquiao and Mayweather duck, whatever. Whatever reason, the end result is Khan didn't get the big fights with Marquez and Cotto and Pacquiao and Mayweather. De La Hoya seen an opportunity and he seized it. He said, hey, there's this new venue in Vegas, so you could be the first to christen it and bring it in with a big fight against a known A-side type of fighter and Canelo, who's young, strong, and Amir Khan has balls. So he was like, yeah, you know what I mean? The purse was right. The particulars right. He didn't care about the weight, which I think is a bad mistake. I would have made Canelo come down personally, but that's just me. And he took it, you know what I mean? It was just an opportunity. If opportunity knocks, you have to answer, and that's what De La Hoya did. He's seen a desperate fighter who had been pretty much inactive since May of last year, and he capitalized on it, period. That's what I say. There's no, like, I think you're looking too far into it. There's no hidden, oh, does he need the KO? No, he needs, it's a safe fight as far as I'm concerned for Canelo. Canelo is one of the remaining cash cows at Golden Boy. You know what I mean? Lucas Batista got stopped. Mauricio Herrera had his eye flap. He's not even a huge star. But versus Lundy, a guy who Crawford just demolished, Herrera had a tough fight where he didn't look his best. You look at Victor Postol, Bob Arum. Actually, Postol's with Top Rank. Never mind. Golden Boy, David Lemieux just got stomped by Triple G for every single round. Canelo is that flagship, you know what I mean? Canelo is the star at Golden Boy, without a doubt. You have other people, these LA fights that De La Hoya is doing and all that, but I'm talking about star power. Like, those are smaller cards. And name somebody on Golden Boy who hasn't lost, who you would compare their fame, not excluding Canelo. Name someone who hasn't lost that you would compare their fame and level of fame to an Adrian Broner. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to find it. I'm not talking about smaller fighters, you know what I mean? Magdaleno or somebody, you know what I mean? Somebody like that isn't worldwide known yet. You have Luis King Kong Ortiz, but he's not a huge draw at the point. Saddam Ali, great fighter, but I'm just saying he's not a A-side type of star. So, again, I think you're reading too far into it. I think it was an opportunity. They lured Khan in, made a deal he couldn't refuse or whatever. And Khan probably feels he really can win the fight. He's seen what Lar did and Mayweather did. And De La Hoya was like, yeah, cool, sold. So I don't think it's about getting KO real. I don't think it's about, it's the almighty dollar. It's two big names. De La Hoya knows the business. He knows that people don't care if it's a mismatch because they bought into Canelo versus Josecito, which is even more of a mismatch because Josecito Lopez was coming up and he was slow. You know what I mean? He's slow in his other divisions. And he was a career 140-pounder, had really one fight and an upset in the fight he was losing versus Victor Ortiz, and then they made the fight with Canelo Josecito. So that's more of a mismatch, but this is still a mismatch. So I think it's the almighty dollar. It's a big fight, new arena, it's two names, and De La Hoya knew that it would just be such a weird match. People would have to watch it. It's like a train wreck. You're just going to have to watch it just because can Khan pull the rabbit out the hat with this one? You know what I mean? So I think it all goes back to business. And from a business perspective, in my opinion, this is a fight that clearly Canelo can look good in based on his style. And what's the worst, like, I'm not trying to be rude, but what's the worst that Khan can do? I don't really see how Khan can hurt or stop Canelo. So the worst is it'll be a controversial, he got outboxed. Khan made him look foolish for 2 rounds or 3 rounds or 4 rounds or whatever. And then the judges will probably pick Canelo anyway. So it's really, to me, it's a safe fight for Golden Boy. Because you're in there with a guy who's smaller, like naturally, and hasn't been fighting at that level. He's not necessarily a devastating KO puncher at 147. So it's like, it's not like your dude's going to get spun around and knocked down and knocked out a bunch of times. Or, you know what I mean? Something like that. So the at best, I think Khan's shot to win would be outboxing him. And then anytime you win via outboxing, there could always be that level of debate. You know what I mean? Like Chavez Jr. versus Brian Vera. Brian Vera is clearly outboxing Chavez. He was busier, but his punches had less effect on big-ass Chavez Jr. So people could easily say, man, them Chavez 3 or 4 shots he landed were just more significant. They're blowing Brian Vera's body back and pushing him against the ropes. So even though Chavez Jr. only landed 3 or 4 shots, Brian Vera landed 15 since he was a smaller guy. His shots didn't have as much effect on Chavez, who was huge next to him, right? So it's always that debate, and they gave the fight to Chavez. Oh, he was just the thudding blows and the more impact. Same thing with this. It's always going to be debatable. Like even Canelo Lora is debatable. Some people have an argument why Canelo won. Some people have an argument why Lara won. So I think it's a safe fight for Golden Boy. Because at the very least, I don't see Khan hurting Canelo. And then it would just be debatable on, did he get exposed and outboxed if he doesn't stop Khan. Let me know how you think I did this week. Monday mail day. Try to answer a lot of questions. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.